more, oh, yes, that would be a good idea. But they're more connected to talking to friends and family, where you need to be a little bit intentional about it and find out, what do they know about climate change? How do they feel about it? And ask them. And part of being intentional is to not ambush somebody. You care about climate change. You want to talk to them about climate change. Do you have their permission, basically, to talk to them about climate change?
Yeah. Can I make a suggestion here?
Sure.
Sometimes it comes up in a roundabout way. Like, there was tornadoes in Florida, who don't normally get tornadoes, or tornadoes in New Jersey, and they'll say, wow, the weather really is crazy. And you can hear the gears move.
Right.
And then for me, one of the questions I ask is, yeah, what have you heard about global climate change? What have you heard about, global warming? And this way they'll tell you what they know. And you're not attacking them. They're talking, where they are. It kind of establishes more of a connection. It's a way of establishing a connection. And then whatever they say, the next thing is, I've heard that too, because, we've all heard it. And
that is so well said. That is so well said. And it takes practice to kind of do this.
yeah.
It takes some, first of all, we're sort of having this conversations at the very beginning of the meeting, that it takes practice to have a conversation where you actually listen.
Yes.
And it takes practice then to know what your own story is going to be. There's another piece of psychological research that I didn't talk about so much that says that our brains, when we are listening to a story, are in a different place than they are when we're just hearing facts and figures.
Yeah.
So we have to have two things ready when we have a climate conversation. One is to be ready to listen and reflect, and be ready to tell our own story. So that's actually what we're going to do a little exercise now. Whoops, I hit the wrong thing. So we're going to do an exercise now to, and I'm going to show this slide. I'm going to give you some ideas for conversations, and then we're going to come back to it and going to do the exercise. So we're going to send people into pairs in breakout rooms, and you're going to describe something. And each of you is going to, you're going to take turns. Each of you is going to get about 4 minutes, and you're going to describe something in your community or in your life experience that's changing, and relate it to climate change, and say why it matters, and add a solution or a personal action. So personal actions could be calling Congress, or eating less beef. A solution could be everybody gets a heat pump. I guess there's a big overlap between those two things. And the other person is going to practice listening and reflecting, and then they're going to tell their own story. There's a lot of stuff in the news that you can make be the topic of conversations, or that you can have be linked to your own stories. Induction stoves and indoor air pollution have been all over on social media in the last few weeks. The Data has come out again that says that people who have gas stoves in their houses have 30% more, 30% higher probability of their kids having asthma. Some of the studies are 50% more. The numbers are truly striking. There's been some good research done that says that this is true, whether or not you have a good fan in your house, a good exhaust fan. There is also good data that says that the pollution, that the indoor air pollution, if you use your fan, is very much reduced. So everybody's speculation is that people do not use their fans. So they have, so if you have, I'm telling you this partly because this is my advertisement today. If you still have a gas stove, and if you have if you have any kind of stove, actually, you need to use your ventilation fan. And it needs to be exhausted to the outdoors, not to just be a little filter fan. The movie, Don't Look Up. I hope a number of you have seen it. Some people hate it, some people love it. There's a little picture of it here. It is very, I found it highly amusing, and some of the performances are great. And it's a great place to start talking to somebody about climate. There's a lovely movie called Meltdown, which features Andy Lazarowitz, Tony Lazarowitz, sorry, that I was talking about earlier. He goes on an expedition off of Greenland with a art photographer to take, she has been going to the ice fields off of Greenland for decades and taking photographs of them, and they go together. And it's just an hour long. It's on Apple TV, as well as other places. It's just the photography is just stunning, and it's kind of a meditation on what losing that Greenland ice is going to mean to all of us. Mm. And then we have stuff from the papers like 40% down payments on oceanfront homes, and the guy that made Don't Look Up losing his fire insurance because of wildfire risk. So if you don't feel like you have a compelling personal story that you want to tell, you can connect your personal story to a news story. That's the point of seeding this that way. So here's kind of my climate story a little bit. I really, up until the early 2010s, thought that government was going to solve this problem. Surely we didn't have to be worried about it. But then Waxman-Markey was defeated. For those of you who remember that, that was the last time that the federal government tried to do a federal action, which is commensurate with the size of the problem. In 2010, it included clean energy standard and cap and trade, bunch of good stuff. And it was defeated. And then shortly after that, Hurricane Sandy. And we kept the river out of our house with a few tubes of caulk. And so we almost got really wrecked in that. And it really brought it home to me how vulnerable New Jersey is. Places like Highlands, the water at Highlands in Hurricane Sandy was 2.5 feet higher than the previous high water mark ever. The tide gauge off Sandy Hook, we don't really know how big the tide was off Sandy Hook because the tide gauge broke, meaning the tide gauge floated off the top of the buoy could only go so high, and then it broke. So truly unprecedented flooding in the New York area. Y'all know that already. And New Jersey's economy depends on the ocean so much. So it's really a big problem. And so I decided that I cared a lot about clean energy. And so we got solar panels. And I'm delighted that we hit our break-even point after just 6 years. So this is a story that starts from a personal experience, that this is a big problem, that it's linked to climate, and that I'm really happy that I have solar panels and I have a bunch of other things in my house now that are clean energy related that I could talk about at that point with somebody else in a conversation. So now we're going to go back to, I've given you some ideas for conversations. If you don't have something in your own life experience that you can come up with real quick. So describe something in your community or in your life experience that's changing. Relate it to climate change, explain why it matters, and add a personal solution or action, a personal action or solution. And 4 minutes each, maybe 9 minutes total, we'll send you all out for.
This is Dennis. I have no personal experience like that. I have found that nobody listens to me, so it doesn't matter how much knowledge I have, nobody cares. But there's a group called Project 314, as in 3.14, number for pi. This lady started, she ran for Congress, lost, but she learned what to do. And the last 4 years, she's been training scientists to run for local, state, and national politics positions. They're doing very well. They've gone from, like, the first year they had like $200,000. Now they've got like $23 million contributed. I donate $250 per month, every month, because I think this is the best investment we can make, is to put scientists in Congress. A few years ago, we had our congressman from the Princeton area. He was the only scientist in the entire Congress. That's my contribution.
He was our rocket scientist.
He was. I had a bumper.
That's right.
Right. So part of what I'm really glad you brought that up, because the part of the intent of building a story around your personal experience is that the science at least shows that people are more likely to pay attention to your personal experience laid out in a story than they are to the general statistics of the situation. So one of the things that I find a little hard to do is to do that personal story part and to kind of keep it there and to connect with somebody else on, I love the shore, I love boating on the Navesink River. Gee, things were really wrecked after Sandy. What can we do to try to have it not disappear forever? Because yeah, so I think electing scientists as politicians at the same time, that sounds like a really important work.
Thank you.
Are you going to be able to send us out then, Mary?
Yeah, I'd like to, yeah, we can post it on our website. And we do have a way, and we'll send out the link.
What I meant was, do you want me to send us to breakout rooms, or would you like to do it?
Oh, I see.
I think I can do it.
Yeah, I can do it. Here we
You
go.
got it? Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Recreate.
make you guys talk to each other. And you can decide who goes first based on alphabet or something.
Okay, here we go.
And my guess is
Sorry. Hey, Sarah. I took you out of the breakout room. I hope you don't mind. And you're on mute. Yeah. You're still on mute.
I want to put these instructions in the chat.
Oh, okay. I'm doing that now.
Doing it? Okay, that's better than.
So find something you're interested in, something you've done.
Something describe something that's changing related to climate change.
Okay.
Explain why it matters. Add a solution or personal action. And I think my screen, and I'm not sharing screen now, right?
Yeah, no, you're not.
Okay, good. I practiced this earlier today, and I obviously should have made instructions for myself because I can't get back to the state that I got it to earlier today, where I had one screen with all of my Zoom stuff and one screen with the presentation. The presentation taking over all of both screens.
It always does that. I always, I don't minimize the presentation, but I make it so it doesn't take up the whole screen. And then I can go under and I bring the Zoom forward.
Yeah, did you start a timer?
No, but I know I put them in at 150, like 151, 751.
Okay, fine. So I'll set a timer for 7 minutes, for 6 minutes.
6 minutes, yeah. They've had 2 minutes.
Yeah, okay. And then we'll bring it back out. Really glad that guy mentioned the idea that nobody listens to him, and this organization, and he felt like that was the right kind of political action to take, which is great, because I do feel like I did not say enough about the importance of personal stories.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Dennis Anderson, he's the leader of our group, so I don't think nobody listens to him. I think
They probably listen more than he thinks they do.
Well, not only that, but he's, I find him to be very influential, just because he's so gentle and he's so like unassuming and
Well, it's really that business about people at least saying that they are willing to take action if they are asked by someone who they trust.
yeah,
I think that's a really interesting polling result.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. One of the things we want to do is ask people to join our group. There's some positions open and it would be really nice. And it is a good way of getting the word out. So,
I should send to you the Renee Lersman, L-E-R, maybe it's Lertzman. She is a climate grief, climate anxiety, climate action psychologist.
oh yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
And she talks about a concept called attunement, which in our groups, we need to build attunement. Attunement is when we feel understood and accepted for who we are by the other people in the group, and it facilitates action.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm gonna take another shot at what happens if I. Okay, now I have a ton. The question is, we're going to be pretty darn close to 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
I have to decide. I have a whole bunch of backup slides that I know what I'm going to end with. Okay, I'm going to end with talking about all we can save. Do you know this book yet?
No, no. I'm honestly not a big reader. I mean, I'm dyslexic, so if I can't do it on
Audiobook.
yeah, then and if not for audiobook, then it's like oh.
I consume almost everything on audiobook.
Yeah.
It's way too often that I end up both having to buy the real book and get the audiobook.
Well, I've done that too.
Because if I don't have the audiobook, I just don't get through it.
Okay. Yeah.
Did somebody
let's see. I think they've got in a minute.
okay.
All right.
Yeah, they've got a minute and a half. When you say come back, they get another 60 seconds, but
yeah.
I'm gonna try to okay, so let's see. I need to reshare when they come back. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go.
I'm gonna bring them back.
Okay, that's fine.
Right. They have 60 seconds. There we go.
Okay. And I think I have to wait till they come back to share again, don't you think?
I think if you share now, you'll be good. It's when you change states that you lose whatever it is you set up.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So, go.
Okay, so room 2 is back. Of course, no one knows what room 1 is back. Good.
Took me back to the beginning of my presentation. That's very annoying, actually.
I'll just click through it quickly.
Yeah.
All right, room 6 is back. Room 7,
Will you send the recording to the attendees?
yeah,
Thank you.
we're gonna put the recording, we're gonna send you a link for the recording and we're gonna put the recording up on the website.
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, I have to push the share button. That would be important.
Okay, let's see, is everybody back? Looks like. Is David P. here?
There were,
All right, so.
Thank
You're
you.
back, and it's Jasmine Dolly, you're here.
Yeah.
And Steve Miller, are you here? Steve and Pat? There we
Pat's
are.
here.
Steve. Good, and Pat. All right, so I'm going to assume everybody's back. Take it away.
Can you hear me, Mary?
Yes.
Good. Let's see. So how did that go? Does anybody want to tell us how it went? Come on, Jasmine.
Okay. I'll
Done this
talk.
before.
It was very interesting talking to Leland. I was in the room with Leland. It was very interesting. We both had information. My story is about Long Beach Island and how it is flooding all the time now. I've been going there since I was a baby, and it's horrifying. Leland is doing something very interesting that you might want to tell other people. He is working on living wisely with Wikiversity, trying to get people to pay attention, which I think is what we're all doing, which is what we're doing here.
Exactly what we're doing here. Yep. Anybody else want to go? We are close. We were in overtime already, so maybe we could take one more if somebody else wants to go. Okay, maybe we'll just move ahead. My next few slides are, I'm going to go through super quickly because they're sort of in the category of fun facts, which I find very compelling when I think about climate change. And sometimes I get a chance to use them in conversations with people. What you see here is what's called the thin blue line, the troposphere. So the troposphere is the bottom, I think it's 8 miles, might be 15 miles, the bottom 15 miles of the atmosphere. And it's where all the weather happens. And 99% of the atmosphere's mass is there. And it is the thickness of an apple skin on an apple. It's this fragile thing, which is what we are working to protect in this work. It's the bright blue part on this picture from space. It is these pennies on this map. This short stack of pennies is 62 miles high. So the troposphere, the place that has all the air that we breathe in and all the weather that we experience is half of one of those pennies compared to the size of that map is the size of the atmosphere that matters to us in climate, in all of our climate and weather. This is a chart that depicts deaths in the United States associated with human-caused domestic emissions of these little tiny particulates. And it's estimated that there are 100,000 deaths a year associated with particulates. And half of those deaths are attributable to fossil fuel combustion. One of the things that's in my vision for the future is that my grandchildren will live to see a world that is free of this kind of pollution. And now we have a quiz that comes to us from a book called Under the Sky We Make. I think I referenced this earlier. So who wants to guess who said this and when? There is still time to save the world's people from the catastrophic consequences of pollution, but time is running out. Carbon dioxide is being added to the Earth's atmosphere by the burning of coal, oil, and natural gas at such a rate to cause marked, I spelled that wrong, changes in climate. Anybody want to guess? It was said in 1965,
1965.
by the president of the American Petroleum Institute.
Ha.
Some of what we need to feel when we talk about climate is anger. It's okay to be a little angry. There's a great book called All We Can Save that has some great quotes in it. It's a book of essays. I do highly recommend the book. It's not a book that you really want to kind of read from cover to cover. You want to, read an essay or two. And it includes some real pearls of wisdom. The Mary Oliver thing is great. May I be the tiniest nail in the house of the universe, tiny but useful. And Leah Stokes, who's a professor out at UCSB, I think, each one of us can be that nail chipping away at the fossil energy system, because that's what we're trying to do. We got to chip away at the fossil energy system. And Emily Atkins says, most people who are interested in climate change just don't yet have the tools to talk about it confidently. The choir is there, they want to sing, but they don't know the words. So tonight is supposed to be to try to give y'all a few words. And we'll close with an action step and with questions and answers if you want to. So we can do the two things at the same time. This is, you can, let's see if we can, whoopsies. Oh, why is this not working? So you can type into your browser. I can put it in the chat, I think. Can I do that? Can you put it in the chat for me, Mary? I can't get to the chat.
I'm on it.
You're on it. You are the best.
I'm doing it.
Here we go. Now I found it, but you got it. Okay.
Yeah.
cclusa.org, get-loud-take-action. And the automatic message that will come up is the one that I have written here. It includes a phrase on carbon price, and you can just delete that if you want to. But I would love it if each of you would send a letter to the president and to our senators tonight, urging them to put strong climate provisions in the reconciliation package. We need to stiffen their spines. Okay. Oh, Felicia says that she's launched a book club for Catherine Hayhoe's book. That's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mary, for putting the link in the chat. Does anyone have any questions while we're all trying to fill out these things in our browsers? Oh, and Citizens Climate is really good. If you click the don't contact me box, they won't contact you.
Yeah. The other thing I'd ask people to consider is to join the active committee of the Jersey Shore group Sierra Club. And if you're not from Jersey Shore, then join your local Sierra Club. And to come to our meetings, help us plan, help us have these presentations. We're looking for specifically a secretary, somebody to take notes and pass them out. But there are many other things you can do, and you're limited by what you want to do. The group is very supportive. It's really one of the most supportive groups I've ever known. So yeah, get in touch with me. I'll give you my email address. And
Perhaps you should consider talking about the success of Citizens Climate Lobby this year as compared to last year in regards to this effort.
Well, let's see. So Citizens Climate Lobby has not achieved its goal, as none of us have yet, of having real federal climate action passed, right? Citizens Climate Lobby, I think, has been central to having carbon pricing included in the Senate discussions. For those of you who have followed this, there was a clean energy plan included in the original reconciliation bill coming out of the House that was very early on removed as being something that was not acceptable to the Senate and or couldn't get past the couldn't pass the rules of being a reconciliation bill. And so as far as I know, reinserting a carbon fee and dividend proposal is still on the table. I don't consider it likely. I personally, I think we need to continue to push Congress as hard as we can to include strong climate action in the reconciliation bill. If what we get is 10-year production tax credits and investment tax credits, and there's some other important climate provisions, it would be a good step. It's not enough to achieve the 50% by 2030 goals, but it would be a good step. So I feel like, so we've had more success than we've ever had before. We're coming up on 100 co-sponsors in the House to the carbon fee and dividend legislation, but it always feels like it's not enough.
You know, I learned at one of the events last year that a Citizens Climate Lobby, it increased the amount of participation for this specific type of action that you are describing on the screen so substantially in 2021 as compared to 2020 that they were achieving the annual result of all effort in 2020 was produced each month in 2021, as far as the number of steps and actions taken for this very specific suggestion.
I think that's true. And the other thing that is a little bit, let's see, the thing that's a little daunting is that we clearly need more grassroots support from all kinds of organizations in support of this. Sierra Club is much, much bigger and also did a good job through the end of the summer and into the fall on Build Back Better, I think. So it's not just us. Evergreen also has been doing good work. Congress is under immense pressure from entrenched interests, and citizens are a major pushback against that, at least until the other corporations wake up. And they're starting to wake up. But thank you, David, for mentioning that. I didn't have that in the front of my brain.
I'd also like to say that Congress people work for us. We don't work for them, and they have to rely on the voters. So the more voters we can get to tell them what they want as far as climate change goes and action on climate change, the more pressure they will be under to resist the corporate push to keep them from acting. So everybody, please contact Congress and get your friends to do it and your relatives and everybody you know, whether they can vote or not. If they're 9 years old and afraid, they need to tell their congressperson.
Yeah.
And there's several excellent nonpartisan get out the vote operations. The one that I've been participating with and that Citizens Climate Lobby partners with is called the Environmental Voters Project, which specifically goes in using big data techniques and finds environmental voters who don't vote and reaches out to them. And so you can volunteer with them, Environmental Voters Project. And I think Sierra Club does get out the vote. You guys did a giant get out the vote effort last season, I believe.
Yeah, there were a lot of us who were involved in that I know of. Yeah, they were very well organized.
Yes,
So
my wife and I wrote probably 2,000 letters, personal letters. We went through 10 cases of pens. Is that true? Yeah, 10 cases. Pat.
And it does make a difference. I mean, here we are and Build Back. I mean, it's a little nerve-wracking, but it does look like the most of the climate provisions let's see, the big climate provisions are still alive. They're not dead yet.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask each of you one last thing, which is to think about who you would like to have an intentional climate conversation with. Make it an easy one, but commit to yourself to talk about climate, find out what the other person knows about what's going on, tell them about what you care about, tell them your story, tell them you went to this workshop and you want to practice this thing on them, and that what you want, and you just have to remember those 3 words: bond, connect, inspire. Bond over values, connect it to climate, tell a story around it, and inspire with a solution. I had a lot of fun preparing for this talk, you guys.
Yes, thank you very much. And this is very, I had shared with Sarah that I did my own personal exercise once where I talked to 200 people about climate change. And I began to say, like, who do you know who I can talk to? They just need to talk to me because you said that they'll do it for you. And I don't want climate people necessarily, like if you have middle of the road people, and I promise it'll be a good conversation. So it took a long time and it really took a lot, but there was stuff here I didn't know that really would have helped and it would have been good. So, and I really, truly believe we can do this one person at a time. And really that's how we're going to do it. And momentum counts. So,
and
thank you so much.
Yeah.
So I had a conversation with Jack. He really told an inspiring story. I mean, he had not rehearsed it or thought about it beforehand, but it came through really clear. It turned out we both had the same phenomena of being affected by these strong storms, but the big thing that we found is we both have installed heat pumps. So we have that really strong thing trying to combat climate change.
Yeah.
So this is so huge. I have so many, I could go on about this, but yeah. Have you guys heard about I think it's 3 million machines electrify everything. So what is that guy's name? At any rate, a number of buildings, including our own homes, that have to be transformed in order to meet our climate goals is really big. And he made an estimate of how many machines it is, and he says it's however many machines he said, and it's a lot. So we're started with one at Steve's house and one at his interlocutor's house. Do you have a heat pump will become the best pickup line of 2022.
So I'm learning about pickup lines. I've never been a very good flirt. This is good. So Sarah, thank you so much for all your work and all you've done and for bringing it to us. And yeah, I'm totally going to have at least one conversation.
Yeah, rain gardens are good too.
Yes.
We need it all. That's the thing. That's why you have to fight that. You can't just change your light bulbs. You got to do it all,
Yeah.
but only one thing at a time. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Take care, everybody.
Have a
Bye.
good evening.
Sarah.